we did on algorithms yesterday? Can anybody see any sell-side algorithms kicking off on oil at the news? Anybody see any sell-side algorithms? Remember we were talking about 3 ticks? The sell-side algorithm was 20 ticks deep here. You see that? 20, not 3. You've seen some buy-side algorithms kicking off in the background there off of these bids. You've seen some buy algorithms kicking off there, which is 2 ticks, 3 ticks wide. But you can see that this algorithm here was 20 ticks deep. There's the offer, guys. There's the bid. That's 20 ticks lower than the best offer and the best bid. 20 ticks lower. So obviously what you're going to be looking at is trying to offer the vacuum, aren't you? You're going to be offering the vacuum, correct? So you're going to be watching those bids and offers like a hawk to try and place your trade into them as soon as you see them adjusting, right? As soon as you see a vacuum trade, you're going to be placing it. Now you've only had about, at this stage, you've only had about 1 second to try and trade a trade. You see that? You've only got 1 second to try and trade that information there. And obviously what happens is you get the vacuum fill, because that can fill with a single contract. So you get an idea that you could try and offer into these areas. Now that's tough because there's not a lot of liquidity in this area. But you could try and offer into those areas. Yeah, you could try and offer into those areas. And obviously when you see the offer coming into those areas, you can see it goes again into that trade. Now obviously getting filled on that trade is remote. But sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you get lucky. Well, it is an algorithm algo, isn't it? Because that's what causes liquidity. That's what causes liquidity on every single one of these, because this is obviously a trade, this is a tick chart that we've got here. So that crunch there is all about the lack of liquidity. They're always about lack of liquidities, but what causes it is the algorithmic press. It's not caused by nothing, it's caused by something. So when we see the press coming in, we start offering, but as I said, you're lucky if you get filled, guys, but sometimes you do. If you're lucky, you get filled on the press here. You're still within 1 second of that data, right? So if you're watching this on your screens, this is going to cross your chart like a blink of an eye. Literally, it's going to cross your chart like a blink of an eye. So the ability to get filled on that vacuum is pretty slim on these types of events. You might get lucky. You might get lucky. If you got filled at $87.10. And obviously there's some volume comes in here. See how that candle, it's a volume candle, so there's some volume gets filled there, see it? So there's a volume fill there, so you might have been able to get filled, but that's the 87 level, of course. That's why you got filled at 87s. But you're obviously knowing that you're giving away perhaps 10 or 15 ticks on that trade. It's a bit of a gamble at that stage, if you think. So obviously what happens? Well, you can see what happens. It just goes again. It just goes again. And now we're 6 seconds into the data. 6 seconds by the time we actually see the book catching up with this trade. 6 seconds later, guys, the book catches up. And obviously it's all over the place. But do you see where the price went back to? You see it? See the opportunity to maybe do some business there? $87.10, remember that price? $87.10. And you can see obviously from $87.10, you can see it stuck around for a while, and then off she went again from that $87.10 level. Do you see that beautifulness? You see how beautiful that was? Look at that, guys. $87.10, $86.50, literally within what, 30 seconds? Literally within 30 seconds. So you're seeing it coming into where the liquidity is added without the noise, And that's a pretty important price right there. That's a pretty important price. If you can see where it's being added without the noise, you can try and grab a bit of business off that level on the pullback. And obviously the takeaway from that was, of course, very, very, very exciting. You can see the sell that came in after that. Very, very nice sell coming into that trade after it. You can see where the level was. It's quite visible on your screens. And the takeaway, as I said, very, very keen to take advantage of that bit of business. Remember, you're selling $87.10. This is all happening in a blink of an eye. It's still only 7 seconds, 8 seconds into the news. 7 or 8 seconds into the news, guys. You've got to be able to read the news, get an idea of the news, check your values, check the order flow, find the levels. But you've still got 7 or 8 seconds. On the floor of the exchange, 7 or 8 seconds is an eternity. You know, you've got more than enough time on the floor to get your trade done because you're seeing it, you're seeing where the liquidity is, and you're dealing off that liquidity. And obviously you see another one kicking off down here. You see another one kicking off down here. This time it's the break of the $86.50 level. And you're starting to think about adding into that short sell. You're thinking about trying to get that short sell on your books. It looks like it's got further to go, doesn't it? And that's the first pullback, isn't it? At that stage, that's the first pullback. So obviously you're watching that first pullback. You're trying to get a piece of that first pullback in that area. And if you got lucky, you got this little pullback here once it started to stall at around about 86.44. Now 86.44 is pretty much as good as it got on the pullback. And obviously it went from 86.44 to 85.60s. So that was still worth another $800. Still worth an $800 trade if you manage to take advantage of that key price level. You can see a short while later you got a nice opportunity to maybe try and trade the 50s there. It did test it again, it did test it again, it did test it again before. You can see what happened before. What happened? You can see it again. Look, down she goes, down she goes, down she goes. See them? See those scrunchies through those areas? It just became brutal. Sell side, sell side, sell side only. Look at that, guys. Look at that. Boom. You see it? Now, at this stage, you're a minute into this trade. You're a minute 50, 2 minutes into this trade. So you know you're going to now have to do a bit of work for this. But you can see how this works out. Look at this, guys. Look at how that trade works out again. You see these opportunities to deal. See these nice areas to play. You know, when you see how this plays out, this is the kind of classroom that I was talking about, obviously being able to show you. You can see that when you see these things happening, you can see you're still only 2 minutes 20 into this information. 2 minutes 20 into this information. And look again, look at what happened again here. Look, you see it? And then it did it on the exact flip. See how it comes in on the exact flip there? Right into your fills, right into your trades at 30s perhaps, if that's what you're trying to do at that stage, if you're trying to get those trades off. And again, you just have to catch up with the right-hand edge and you'll see that there's a lot of different things happening as we get into the right-hand edge of this chart. You can see another one kicked off here, followed by that one. And obviously that gave you an idea about the sellers coming in at these price areas here. And gave you a pretty good, solid, swift kick up the backside to say, get your shorts in place here. And get selling into this as a narrative. A buy came in here from the reversal. And obviously, oopsies, based on that, you're now looking at the buy side reversal in here. And you're obviously thinking about where that 86 bid's going to come in at that stage. You don't get filled on that one. You can see you don't get filled on that one. It's basically a busted flush at that stage. Started to work against you on the trade here. Obviously, you know that 86 is going to be a big flip as well because it's going to bring a lot of volume at 86s, isn't it? If you got filled, you can see you could have got filled into this area here. If you wanted to do some business, you could have got filled. You could have made yourself maybe 10 ticks on the bid. Not the best trade in the world, but you get the basic idea that you could still have done something. But you know there's going to be a big sweep again at 86 evens. When you see it happening, you know it's going to be a big sweep at 86 evens. So we go along until we see 86 evens coming onto the charts. And it's not quite there, but you can see that we get 2 ticks on that one there. And again, just draw the lines on your charts, and if you see any divergences, take a chance on them. And obviously that's where the sweep eventually came from. You can see a couple of two-tick moves here, a couple of two-tick moves there. You get the basic idea of this sweep, trying desperately to get the sweep moving, but stuttering a little bit in the first steps there, not quite getting the 86 offered. You take the price back up again, take the price back up again, take the price back up again, 86.15s, and then another program sell maybe starts punching the liquidity in the chops again here, and there she goes. Look, see it? There she goes. See how it happened? And obviously your job was to try and get filled, and that's no easy task at times. Your job is to try and get filled for the squeeze, and there she goes. Look at that, $85.70 straight from that squeeze on that press there. Do you see it? Fast money moving the price, and then we get another one coming in here and another one coming in here. Do you see them? Another one coming in, and again another one coming in, and you're asking for any type of pullback to try and grab a bit of business there. And you can see you got a nice easy pullback in there, quite an easy one, relatively straightforward. And again, you can see it kicks the sells into play, kicks the sells into play, kicks the sells into play, and you can see that just took you all the way down to 85.70s. Eventually another sell comes into play again here. This is obviously now a very hot sell level here at 76, 77, 78s, and you can see that resulted in a nice sweep down into the 60s. You can see that sell area sweeping down into the 60s, and you can just see those little sell type ideas. See them? So when you look back at those sells, do you see how it's driven the market? You see how those little fast money moves driving the market where it should? Fast money moves driving the market again. Same price, by the way, same price. You see there was a relatively fast sell, but remember, I don't like sells at higher prices because usually you get pressed on those. So if it's going to be a sell, if I see that sell, I'm going to be watching for the higher price to get the sell in. I like the shape of it, but I don't like the price. That's at a higher price. If I'm going to sell, I would be wanting sells below that price area there. Otherwise, I'm more inclined to be seeing that buy trade as a possible buy off of those levels rather than this sell trade that came in there. If I see a sell there, I need to get into that higher price. I'm not going to sell the best offer at that stage. That's not going to be part of my trade arsenal at that stage. Make sense?